On this episode of On the Set, I'm taking a look at Jordan Peele's Us. Ever since his directorial debut, Peele has wowed horror fans with hits like Get Out and even more recently, Candyman. This one, however, is even better, I think. So it's 1986, and a girl named Adelaide, who I'll refer to as Addie, is watching a commercial for Hands Across America, which was like this public fundraiser back in the 80s, where people held hands and formed a chain to raise money for like poverty and hunger and stuff. Don't worry, it's relevant. Anyway, so Addie goes to the carnival on a boardwalk in Santa Cruz with her parents, who don't seem to be watching her all that well because she wanders off into a sketchy funhouse all by herself. Once inside, she sees herself in a mirror, only something seems off. And then we cut to present day, and adult Addie is with her husband Gabe and their two kids, who are going on a vacation, back to Santa Cruz. Hooray! She feels reluctant to go, because after what happened in the funhouse, she became mute and had to go to therapy for like years. After they arrive, they meet up with their friends Josh and Kitty, who are also at the beach with their kids. All I need is a beautiful girl. Ah, yeah, beautiful girl. And suddenly, paramedics show up and pick up a body of an old man who died. But why is this relevant? Oh, it is. Just wait. A bit later on, Addie's son Jason sees the same old man just standing dormant, covered in blood, the same way the original old man was. And that night, after Gabe becomes concerned about her fears, Addie tells him what happened all those years ago. However, her story is interrupted by a group who attempt to break into their house. And after cornering the family inside, it's revealed that the intruders are, well, them. Like literally the same people. What in the... Addie's doppelganger, who calls herself Red, then explains what's going on. In a deep, raspy voice, she explains that they're called tethered, and are basically clones who share a soul with their doppelganger. Also, that they plan on untethering themselves by killing Addie and her family. Okay, that just took a weird turn. Red tells her that she lived a sheltered life underground somewhere, mirroring the actions of her doppelganger, while Addie was living it up. After a brief fight, Abraham, which is Gabe's tethered, gets killed and the family heads to Josh and Kitty's house, where they find them dead as well. All of a sudden, their tethered pop out and get killed by the family. So, am I to believe that everyone has clones? Like, what the hell's going on here? A news broadcast states that the tethered have been murdering their doppelgangers all over the US and have been forming a human chain by holding hands. Alright, that's weird. Addie and her family try to escape and head to Mexico, and on the way, they're attacked by Umbre, the tethered of Addie's daughter Zora, who gets impaled on a tree branch. The family arrive at the boardwalk and find people dead like all over the place, and suddenly Pluto, Addie's son Jason's tethered, tries to blow their car up and ends up getting burned to death. Red shows up and kidnaps Jason and takes him to that same sketchy funhouse from the beginning. And as it turns out, that mirror that she saw herself in wasn't a mirror at all, it was a window. So she wasn't seeing herself, she was seeing Red. Also, that was a secret entrance to an abandoned underground laboratory, where the tethered were created back in the day. So, there's like this one scene where it shows all these people walking around at the carnival, and then it pans down to the laboratory where all their tethered are mimicking their actions and just walking around bumping into each other mindlessly. It's like really unnerving, it's weird. I guess they can like duplicate their actions, but with no real purpose. I don't know, it was really weird. As Addie goes deeper into the facility, she sees white rabbits like all over the place. Also, why did the scientists abandon the lab? And why did they even clone everybody? Like, why? Just then, Addie confronts Red in a classroom, where Red explains that the tethered were a genetic experiment by the government to control people on the surface. Oh, that makes sense. But when the experiment failed, the tethered were abandoned there for years, like generations, with the only food source being those white rabbits. Oh, yum! Eventually realizing that she was different from all of them, Red organized an escape and planned on killing all their doppelgangers as revenge. So as they begin to fight, Red dodges all of Addie's attacks, probably because they do this weird like ballet fight. Eventually though, Red gets impaled with a fire poker and Addie breaks her neck. She rescues Jason and they join the rest of the family on the surface. As they leave in an ambulance, there's a flashback of the night Addie met Red, revealing that the tethered choked Addie, damaging her throat, and trapped her down in the lab. and then took her place in her own life, eventually learning to speak and act as a human. Which ultimately means that Red was actually the real Addie all along, and Addie was the tethered. Holy shit. The old switcheroo. The final shot of the film is the tethered stretching across a large field holding hands, doing that Hands Across America bullshit that Addie saw as a child. And the end. So, what did I think of it all? Well, Jordan Peele did a great job with the plot. The US government created clones of the population to try to control them. That sounds about right. Sounds like some shit that would actually happen. Or maybe it already has. The old Shyamalan twist at the end was crazy too, with Red switching places with Addie in the funhouse. Could you imagine growing up with a bunch of mindless clones underground with only rabbits to eat? What the fuck? I'd get pissed too. Alright guys, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.